I'll be honest with you, I don't know what we need to do.
You know what? I don't know what to do either, but I know we're not going to get any gold at all.
Todd Hoffman's story is a story that carries big dreams, heavy risks, and a lot of painful setbacks. From chasing his father's unfinished gold mining dream, he became a central figure of the gold rush, where he lived much of his journey in the public eye. But behind the fame that came with being on TV were his years of financial struggles, criticism, and tough decisions that made his path both inspiring and heartbreaking. Take a deep breath, grab a drink, and sit down as we tell you about the sad tragedy of Todd Hoffman from Gold Rush. Early life and dreams of gold. The popular miner Todd Hoffman from Gold Rush was born on the 12th of April 1969 in Sandy, Oregon, United States. Sandy is a small town where he grew up with his parents and siblings, and his father, Jack Hoffman, played the most crucial role in helping him shape his outlook on life. Jack was a known businessman to those around him, but had an adventurous side. During interviews, Todd noted that in the 1980s, his father, Jack, tried his hand at gold mining in Alaska, but that attempt did not bring riches, but it left a deep impression on young Todd. Todd also noted that he admired his father's courage to chase something so uncertain, and even though Jack came back empty-handed, the dream of striking gold stayed alive in the family. Todd's childhood was grounded in faith and family values, and this is because he was raised in a Christian household, and these Christian beliefs stayed with him as he grew older. During the show, at some point, he noted how he often leaned on prayer and faith to guide him through the ups and downs of gold mining. While in school, Todd was not known as the best student, but he was known to be curious and always more of a dreamer than a planner. He had a big-picture mindset and often thought about ventures that could change his life instead of following a routine path like others would naturally do. After high school, Todd attended college for a while but did not pursue a fixed career. Instead of pursuing a fixed career, he looked for different ways to make a living. Over the years, he tried several jobs and small businesses, but none gave him the breakthrough he sought. His most notable job before the gold rush was in the aviation business, which he started in Oregon, and the company was involved in leasing planes and running charter services. According to Todd, the business looked promising for a time, but when the financial crisis of 2008 hit, the aviation industry suffered, and Todd's business collapsed. The business failure left him with heavy financial losses and the stress of supporting his wife and children. According to Todd, these struggles pushed him to reflect on his father's old mining stories. It also made him realize that while Jack's gold mining career had failed in Alaska, times had changed, and with better equipment, stronger determination, and a good crew, he might be able to succeed where his father could not. For Todd, gold mining was not just about money. Still, it was also about proving himself, reviving a family dream, and finding a new path after losing almost everything in aviation. And by the time he was in his late 30s, Todd was determined to take the most significant risk of his life, gold mining. Instead of settling into a safer career or a long-term job that would sort things out eventually, he decided to step into the unpredictable world of gold mining, which was a choice that ultimately led him to the spotlight of reality television. Career struggles before fame. Before Todd Hoffman became famous on Gold Rush, his life was filled with career struggles. Like many young adults, he spent years searching for the right path to follow, but most of his attempts at building financial stability and a steady career ended in disappointment. Beginning with his younger years, Todd started by working ordinary jobs to support himself, but he was never content with just earning a paycheck. Like many young adults, such as himself, he wanted something bigger, like a business he could build. Over time, he tried different ventures, testing the waters in various industries. One of his earliest serious business ventures was in aviation. This business was based in Oregon. Todd started a company that leased small aircraft and supported charter services. At first, the industry looked like a smart move because it gave him a sense of independence and potential, but Todd forgot that it was also vulnerable to market changes. When the global financial crisis struck in 2008, aviation was one of the most demanding industries because people flew less, operating costs rose, and small operators like Todd's company could not survive the downturn. The collapse of his aviation business left him with mounting debts and no clear way forward. This was his major setback, but not his only setback. Before aviation, Todd had gone into other small business ideas, but none grew into long-term success. Some projects failed because they lacked the proper funding, while others struggled due to poor timing or competition. These failed business ventures chipped away at his savings and confidence, but he continued. By his late 30s, Todd was facing one of the lowest points in his life because he had lost his primary source of income. His family depended on him, and he did not have a clear plan. The pressure of being a husband and father made the situation even harder for him to handle. He admitted in interviews that during this period he felt trapped because he knew he had to provide for his wife and children, but didn't know how to recover financially. Looking back at those failures, these career struggles shaped Todd in essential ways. They taught him the reality of financial risk and the pain of losing everything he worked for. When gold mining entered his mind as a real possibility, it wasn't just an adventure like some would have imagined. It was a desperate move to rebuild his life and chase the success that had always escaped him. The big leap into gold mining. After the collapse of his aviation business in the year 2008, Todd Hoffman was left with little to no options. He was in debt, struggling to support his family and looking for a way to rebuild his life. During this challenging period of his life, he noted that he began revisiting the stories his father, Jack Hoffman, used to tell everyone about gold mining in Alaska. Although Jack's attempt at gold mining in the 1980s had failed, the idea of searching for gold never left Todd's mind. Instead of treating it as a fantasy, Todd took it seriously because he believed that with better equipment, modern technology, and a strong team, he could succeed where his father had not. This was not an easy decision because gold mining is one of the riskiest industries with no guarantee of profit. Still, Todd saw it as his best chance to turn his life around. By the year 2010, Todd began gathering a crew, mostly of his friends and people he trusted. None of them were professional miners, but they shared his willingness to take risks and chase a dream. The crew came together, pooled their resources, sold what they could, and prepared to travel north. Their first major destination was Porcupine Creek in Alaska, where they set up their mining operation. This bold move caught the attention of the Discovery Channel, and at the time, the channel was developing a new reality show about modern-day gold miners. Todd and his team's story of leaving behind regular lives to search for gold perfectly fits the show's concept. The network began filming their journey, and by late 2010, Gold Rush, which was initially titled Gold Rush Alaska, premiered. Their gold mining journey began as a desperate gamble, but it eventually became a career breakthrough and a public spotlight for Todd Hoffman. He was no longer just a struggling businessman. Instead, he was now the leader of a crew on national television, which had millions of people watching to see if his gamble would pay off. Gold Rush, Todd Hoffman's breakthrough.
You know what? I don't know what to do either, but I know we're not going to get any gold at all.
When Gold Rush, Alaska began to premiere on the Discovery Channel in December 2010, Todd Hoffman quickly became one of the central figures of the show because viewers were introduced to him as the leader of a group of ordinary men who left behind their regular lives in pursuit of gold mining in Alaska. Unlike professional miners, Todd and his crew were mainly inexperienced, making their journey risky and compelling to watch. From the start, Todd was different because of his determination and leadership. He was the one who convinced the others to join him, raised money for equipment, and carried the weight of responsibility when things didn't go as planned. Even though his crew faced repeated failures in their first season, Todd's willingness to take bold risks made him a central character for the show. The show became an instant hit after its first season. Millions of viewers tuned in and were fascinated by the idea of modern-day gold miners risking everything to strike it rich. Todd's story of trying to rebuild his life after the failure of his aviation business added to the drama, and fans connected with his willingness to gamble everything for a final chance at success. As the seasons continued, Todd led his crew through different mining locations in Alaska, Guyana, Oregon, and Colorado. The highs and lows of his life and journey became some of the most talked-about moments on Gold Rush. While most of the show's critics often pointed out his lack of mining expertise, supporters admired his persistence and faith-driven approach. Todd Hoffman became one of the series' breakout stars for the Discovery Channel. His presence and leadership on the show were central to the show's success in its early years, and he helped turn Gold Rush into one of the most watched reality shows on television. Leading the crew and facing challenges. Like every leader in any team, Todd Hoffman carried a heavy responsibility as the leader of his mining team. He was the one who inspired the group to leave behind their jobs and families, and he was the one who promised that their hard work could change their lives if they took that risk. His crew comprised his father, Jack Hoffman, close friends, and others willing and trusted him enough to take the risk. Most had little or no mining experience, making the team even more challenging. From the beginning, Todd's leadership style made people doubt whether he could lead. On one hand, he was passionate, determined, and willing to take risks that others would avoid, which was a good thing. He also motivated his crew with speeches about faith, teamwork, and never giving up, even when things went wrong. On the other hand, he often made decisions that backfired on the whole team, like moving operations too quickly, investing in equipment that didn't always work, and setting unrealistic goals. One season after another, the crew faced serious struggles, from equipment failures to harsh weather, missed targets, and financial setbacks that tested everyone's patience. There were rumored moments when crew members questioned Todd's choices and even considered walking away. Some of them went as far as criticizing him for being more of a dreamer than a planner, but at the same time, they knew that without his drive, there would be no operation. Despite these challenges, Todd managed to keep his crew together for several years. He constantly relied heavily on his father, Jack, for guidance, and leaned on his faith to stay hopeful in the face of constant problems. They managed to find gold, but the journey was never smooth, and each season seemed to come with new obstacles that tested both Todd's leadership and the loyalty of his team. Achievements and high points. Even though Todd Hoffman and his crew faced heavy criticism and setbacks most of the time due to their inexperience, among many other factors, their mining journey was not without success. Over the years, several high points showed he had results for his efforts, so people kept following his story. Despite being inexperienced in the show's early seasons, Todd and his team pulled in enough gold to prove their gamble was not completely reckless. Each ounce of gold they found kept the dream alive and gave the crew hope that they could turn things around for good. His determination to keep pushing forward even after difficult seasons earned him a reputation and respect as someone who would never quit. One of Todd's most significant achievements came in later seasons when his crew hit their most successful gold hauls. At one point in these seasons, they managed to mine over 1,000 ounces of gold in a single season. It was a significant milestone for the team that proved their operation could achieve substantial results. This was a clear sign of progress for a man with no mining background, and it started with only a desperate dream. Todd also achieved recognition beyond the mining numbers, as his role on Gold Rush made him one of the most talked-about reality TV personalities on the Discovery Channel. The show became one of the network's most popular programs, receiving great reviews and millions of viewers tuning in, and Todd was at the center of it. His leadership on the show, his family's involvement, and his willingness to take risks made his storyline one of the main reasons people kept watching. Even with his critics, Todd Hoffman noted that he had moments when it seemed he had proved everyone wrong. The sight of his crew on the show celebrating after hitting a major gold total showed that his dream, while difficult, was not impossible. These achievements became the highlights of his career, balancing out the long list of struggles that came with it. Family life behind the cameras. Away from the mining sites and television cameras, Todd Hoffman has always been a family man. He is still married to his longtime wife, Shauna Hoffman, and they have 2 sons, Hunter and Hudson, respectively. During interviews and on set, Todd has often spoken about how his wife and children are the main reasons he kept chasing opportunities and never gave up, even when the odds seemed against him and the risks were overwhelming. His father, Jack Hoffman, is also known to have played a central role in his life and mining journey. Jack's attempt at gold mining in Alaska during the 1980s inspired Todd to give mining another shot decades later, even when his father made nothing from it. On Gold Rush, Jack worked with Todd, sharing his experience and a strong family presence with which most viewers with similar family relationships connected. The bond between the father and son gave the show some of its most heartfelt moments, as noted by fans on online forums. Todd's oldest son, Hunter, became part of Gold Rush during the later seasons. Hunter, on and off the show, is an outspoken person who is not afraid to challenge his father's decisions. This has often created tension between them on screen, but it is also seen as the real struggles of running a business centered around family while under pressure. Hunter eventually left the show, and after leaving the show, he stayed out of the spotlight for some time. However, in recent years, he has continued to explore opportunities related to mining and outdoor ventures, while also focusing on building a life for himself that is independent of his father's fame. On the other hand, his younger son, Hudson, has lived a more private life than Hunter. While he appeared occasionally on the show, he did not become a regular part of the mining crew like his brother. Today, Hudson stays out of the public eye, and very little is publicly shared about his career path or personal life. Todd's wife, Shauna, has also kept a relatively low profile, preferring to support her family from behind the scenes rather than in front of the cameras. Fans have described her as the steadying influence in Todd's life, sticking with him through financial failures, the rise of the gold rush, and the uncertainty that followed. The Hoffman family story shows that Todd's mining journey was never just about him. Instead, it was about trying to build a future for his wife and sons, raising his sons with an adventurous spirit like his, and honoring the bond he shared with his father, which are not easy feats. Even though their lives were shaped by the highs and lows of reality television, they have worked to maintain a sense of family away from the spotlight. Crushing setbacks and financial losses. Despite all the excitement and fame that the gold rush brought to Todd Hoffman, the reality behind the scenes was often far less glamorous than what people saw on TV. Mining is known to be an expensive business, and time after time, Todd and his crew found themselves losing more money than they earned. Common setbacks include constant equipment breakdowns, harsh weather, poor ground, and missed targets. In several seasons, the Hoffman crew ended with disappointing totals. To cite an example, a season was one of their most difficult runs. In these seasons, they managed to pull in only a fraction of the gold they had predicted they would pull in, and with that, they could not cover all their costs. This pattern of overestimating goals and under-delivering results became one of Todd's most significant challenges in the show. Critics accused him of chasing dreams without careful planning, and even fans sometimes questioned if his leadership was hurting the crew financially. The pressure was even worse because many of the people on his team had left their well-paying jobs and families behind to join him. When things went badly for everyone, Todd carried the guilt of knowing that his decisions affected not just his own household, but everyone who had trusted him. Some crew members left the show frustrated, while others remained with him through the losses. The financial instability also weighed on his family at home, but his wife Shauna stood by him. The stress of never knowing if the next season would bring profit or debt was difficult and mentally draining. While Todd did achieve some profitable hauls during his mining career, the overall picture of his career as a miner was filled with crushing setbacks and inconsistent results. And instead of becoming a gold mining success story, Todd symbolized how unpredictable and punishing the industry could be. For every high point he achieved, several low points left him and his crew struggling to recover. Criticism, controversies, and pressure from fans. As one of the most recognized faces on Gold Rush, Todd Hoffman got plenty of attention, and not all of this attention was positive. While some viewers admired his determination and faith in his leadership, others criticized him for poor planning, setting unrealistic goals, and repeated mistakes. Over the years, this criticism became one of the defining parts of his public image on and off the show. Many of the show's fans felt that Todd relied more on hope than on the solid knowledge of mining. Most of them took to online spaces where they pointed out that his crew often moved from one site to another too quickly, and in doing so, they left behind projects that were halfway done. Others questioned why he continued to set high gold targets that the crew rarely met. Online forums and social media were full of debates, with some calling him inspirational and others labeling him reckless due to his consistency in not meeting his set targets. Todd was also criticized from within the mining community, as experienced miners often saw him as an amateur who had been given a platform because of television, not because he had the skills to do what was needed. This perception of Todd created tension, as Gold Rush was meant to show real mining, but Todd's repeated missteps made it look more like trial and error. There were also controversies surrounding how much of the show was real and how much was shaped for television drama. Some of the show's viewers accused Todd of exaggerating struggles or faking certain moments to keep the audience interested. While this was more about the show's format than Todd himself, he became the target of much backlash because he was the show's star. The pressure from these criticisms took its toll on Todd because he had to balance the expectations of millions of viewers, the demands of the Discovery Channel, and the reality of keeping his crew together against all odds. He admitted in interviews that sometimes the constant criticism got to him, but he tried to focus on the bigger picture, which was providing for his family and giving his team a chance to succeed. Still, the weight of public opinion never entirely left him, because for every fan who saw him as a man chasing the American dream, another saw him as the reason his crew kept falling short. The heartbreaking decision to leave Gold Rush. By the end of the show's season 8 in the year 2017, Todd Hoffman shocked viewers and fans when he announced that he and his crew were leaving Gold Rush. For many of his fans, it was hard to imagine the show without him, since he had been one of the original stars and a central figure since the very beginning of the show. But for Todd, the decision was not made overnight because of years of financial pressure, public criticism, the emotional strain of leading his crew and the toll it had taken on him. He pushed himself and his team one season after another, but the results were inconsistent. Although he had moments of success, his constant setbacks and growing backlash weighed heavily on him. He admitted that he was burned out and that the lifestyle was no longer sustainable for him or his family. Todd also noted that he wanted to explore new opportunities outside the show. He had always been a man who dreamed big, and reality television had given him a platform, which is true, but it also limited him. He spoke about wanting more time with his family, pursuing other business ventures, and even trying his hand at music. For his crew, the announcement marked the end of an era. Some of his crew members noted how relieved they felt with the announcement, while others were disappointed to walk away from a journey they had spent years building. For their fans, it was bittersweet. And although many criticized him throughout the seasons, his presence and leadership on the show helped shape much of the drama that made Gold Rush a success. Todd's departure from the show was framed as the end of a chapter and the result of his years of struggle. He walked away without the massive fortune many had expected he'd have, and with a mixed legacy that made many admire him for his courage, but question him for his choices. It was a heartbreaking reminder that chasing gold does not always lead to riches, and that dreams can end in disappointment even on reality television. Life after reality TV, new paths and missed chances. When Todd Hoffman left Gold Rush in 2017, he stepped away from the uncertainty of mining on camera. But he did not step away from chasing new dreams. He remained active and continued trying different ventures, reflecting his creative and entrepreneurial spirit. Music was one of the first things he pursued after leaving the show. Todd had always loved singing, and after leaving the show, he began recording covers of songs that were well known and sharing them online. His deep voice also earned him praises from some fans, and music gave him an outlet that was very different from the noise and stress of gold mining. While he never became a mainstream star, his performances found an audience among those who had followed him on television. Todd also tried other projects in the media. We know this because he returned to the small screen with a spin-off show, Hoffman Family Gold, in 2022. This series followed him, his father Jack, and his son Hunter as they made another attempt at mining, but this time with the benefit of experience. While the show had its moments, it did not get the same attention as the original Gold Rush. Outside of television, Todd explored different business ventures, though not all of these ventures took off. Like his mining career, some efforts showed promise, but they struggled to grow into long-term successes and give him the financial stability he desired. However, his willingness to keep trying showed the same persistence that had defined him from the start of the Gold Rush. Despite these new paths, Todd often faced the same uphill battles, with critics constantly questioning his choices and the direction of his ventures. Every move he made seemed to attract both anticipation and scrutiny, and while he carried the determination to prove himself beyond the cameras, the journey was far from easy. Some opportunities initially looked promising but fell short of expectations, leaving him with disappointment and the sting of public judgment. After leaving reality TV, life did not unfold into the smooth, triumphant success story many had predicted for him. Instead, it became a landscape of unpredictable turns, small victories here and there that gave him hope, followed by setbacks that tested his resilience. The shift from the spotlight forced him to confront what it meant to build something lasting, away from the fame and recognition that once defined his career. It was not just about chasing wealth or recognition anymore. It became about learning, adapting, and pursuing dreams despite the obstacles. Todd's post-Gold Rush years reflected the reality that not every plan leads to a breakthrough, and not every risk pays off. Still, through perseverance and faith, he continued pushing forward, determined to carve out an authentic and enduring legacy, even if it came through a slower, harder path than the one many expected. What do you think about this story? Please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to share this video, like it, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, click on the video displayed on your screen.